So I was depressed for 5 years, and man, looking back at it now, I hated that period of my life. Yes, it does seem like a long time. I agree. It's kind of cringe looking back at it now. It kind of makes me think to myself, I really wish I never let this be a reason for my depression. And let me just say, I'm okay now. It's been a while since that period of my life happened, but the reason I was depressed for 5 years was because of a girl. So let's take this back to the beginning, and I'm going to try to compress a really long story as best as I can without boring you. So I used to live in California, mainly because of school, high school at the time. And so because of my parents' work not being so good in California at the time, there were a lot of job opportunities with higher pay here where I am now in Florida. Because of these job opportunities, my family, specifically my parents and I, decided to move from California to Florida. And during that time, I would say that didn't really play a huge role in leading up to my depression, but it did play a small part because that meant that I had to leave a lot of my friends who I was close to at the time. And not only that, I was only a sophomore back then, so I wasn't able to complete the other 2 years of my high school. And because of that, because of the fact that I wasn't able to finish my high school and because I had to leave a lot of my close friends, that made me really sad. And yeah, so here I am now in Florida. I still continue to be sad because what I had to do for the last 2 years of my high school was I had to be homeschooled due to our situation at the time. And that was tough because you don't really get social interaction doing that. So that was rough. And not only that, but the area that we lived in, I believe we lived there for about, I would say a good 3 years, maybe, something like that. And I didn't know anyone in my neighborhood. I didn't have any friends there. And at the same time, the communication that I had with my old friends back in Cali started to die down, which I get. It's normal. I'm not able to interact with any of them in person, so it makes it hard. And talking through a phone isn't exactly the most fun form of interaction. So yeah, I lost a lot of friends because of that. And then I want to say maybe about a year later, we attended a church service and I met a girl there who I found very attractive, and we started talking and we got pretty close fairly quickly. Like, I'm talking like a week of chatting away and then already video calling each other, just talking about the most random things until like 2, 3 a.m. And at the same time, talk and talk and talk until we both fall asleep on camera through Skype. Yes, the good old Skype days. And then there was this one day where we decided to go to the beach. And it's funny thinking about it now because we both never really confirmed if that was considered a date, but looking back at it now, I'm pretty sure it was a date. And I got to know a lot more about her during that time, which was nice. And that was a fun time. So on my way home from that date, I asked her when the next time would be. Her response was so oddly random, if that makes sense, but she said, "Oh, sorry, I'm going to be really busy." And when I heard that response, I took it well because at the same time I understand because she described her being busy as going to college soon. So she might not have as much time to talk to me, and that's totally fine. I get it. But a couple of weeks later, her best friend, which was also my friend at the time, let me know through text, and I thank her for letting me know, but even still, it really hurt me. But she told me that the only reason she got close to me was because she rebounded me. So I didn't really know what that meant. So I decided to do some research, and basically, this girl who I found attractive had just gone through a breakup, and I was pretty much just her help me feel better friend. And when she feels better, she's pretty much just going to ghost me, which is exactly what she did. And I know it's going to sound cheesy, but I really felt like a huge part of me died after her friend broke the news to me. And that right there was the start of my 5 year depression. Those years, let me just say, sucked. It seems like such a small thing, but the more I look back on it, it's really not. Those years were rough for me. I actually had days where I felt like I didn't really want to live anymore. Like I wouldn't join any of my family gatherings. I would have meals by myself, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes I'd forget to shower. I would even forget to eat at times. Even more so during this time of my depression, I had a dog during that time, which was a pit bull. And the problem with that pit bull that I had was I failed to train her early during the early stages of her growth, therefore making her not socialized. So she would bark and be aggressive at a lot of people that she came across and even try to bite, which was a problem. So unfortunately, I had to get, despite all my attempts in trying to get her retrained, it was kind of too late. So I had to get her euthanized, unfortunately, and I really didn't want to do that, but all odds were against me. So I had to get her euthanized, and even worse, I had to do that on my birthday. So that happened, and that just made my depression way worse. So anyway, moving forward, how did I get over this depressing stage of my life? Sometimes it's tough for me to talk about this portion of the story because I feel like some people might think it's, kind of a goofy answer or, like a BS answer. That's not really how you got over the depression, but I promise you, this is how I got over the depression. The answer was God. Let me first say, I am a Christian. One day I woke up and I've lived in the house that I was living in at the time. I've been there, I want to say, for about a good 5 years, which I forgot to mention, we moved from that old place from when we first moved here to Florida. So this is a different house in which we lived for 5 years. Throughout the duration of me living in that house, I never noticed that there was a memory verse on my ceiling, but not really. And it was Luke chapter 1, verse 37, which says, "For with God, nothing shall be impossible." And the interesting part about that story is that there were many times during my depression years that I questioned God. I would ask him casually, like I was talking to a friend, it seems impossible for you to help me. I would say things like, why did you make me go through this? And why aren't you helping me? It's pretty much over now because I'm having thoughts of ending my life, things like that. So the conclusion I had in my head was, I can't be saved, pretty much. It's too late. So I saw that memory verse and I thought, I don't know, maybe it's just a coincidence. And then one day I decided to start reading my Bible, and I heard a lot of people having experiences where, God spoke to them and all that. And at the time, I didn't really believe that. So I did a little experiment to sort of test God, which it's not good. But during this testing, I didn't know where to start in the Bible. I didn't really want to read it from front to back. I wanted something specific. So what I did was, I'm going to close my eyes, open the Bible, and just point my finger somewhere random. And if I don't find anything that gives me a reason to keep living, then this is it, basically. So I did that, closed my eyes, opened my Bible, pointed, and it brought me to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, which I do not have by memory. So I'm going to read a part of it here in my Bible. And it says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 to 9. Why is that significant to me? Well, the reason it's significant to me is the message that I'm getting is that yes, there is a time that I'm going to be depressed, even if it was 5 years, but there will also be a time where I'm not depressed, and that form of happiness might even last longer than 5 years, if not the rest of my life. And keep it together, big boy. It's just crazy. Looking back at it now, the fact that God actually cares about you, that there are sometimes moments where we ignore him and yet he still listens. It's just really awesome to think that God cares about you. You know, during my years of depression, family wasn't able to help me. Friends weren't able to help me. Nothing I did helped. And it was only that moment when I decided to give God a chance to work in my life that I was finally able to overcome that depression. I know it seems as though I don't look as if I'm fully recovered from that depression, but trust me, I am. This is just my personality in general as sounding deadpan, but I promise I am okay. Now, I'm not really sure if you believe in God or not, but either way, I suppose my message today is whatever it is that you are going through, perhaps maybe depression, such as myself in the past, or whatever it is that you may be going through, it gets better. And I wholeheartedly believe that. If it got better for me, I believe it's going to get better for you as well. I'm going to leave it at that. If you're feeling down right now or are going through something, like I said, it gets better. And I'm here for you. So yeah, you guys have a good one. Bye.